Hello everyone, welcome to another video, but before talk about of subject, don't forget subscribe and leave your like. Could loaded WR market affect Seahawks plans for DK Metcalf? The Seattle Seahawks haven't given any indication they are looking to trade star wide receiver DK Metcalf. Is there any chance Lockett remains on Seahawks in 2025? But at this stage of the offseason, when bold predictions run rampant, the idea of trading Metcalf has been a popular one. Over the past month, national pundits such as ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler and Sports Illustrated's Connor Orr are among those who have written prediction pieces that featured Seattle parting ways with its ultra-talented wideout. However, if the Seahawks are indeed interested or at least open to the idea of trading Metcalf, there could be a factor working against them. As evidenced by an article Monday from ESPN's Bill Barnwell, the wide receiver market is particularly loaded this offseason. Barnwell lists 17 notable wideouts who could be available via free agency, trades or releases, and it is chock full of big names: Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin, to name a few. During Seattle Sports Bump and Stacy on Tuesday, producer Curtis Rogers discussed how the wide receiver surplus could diminish Metcalf's trade value for the Seahawks. Does that then drive down what teams are willing to give up? Said Rogers, who was filling in as the show's co-host. Because those teams know that, hey, if we're so desperate for a wide receiver, we can go sign one of these guys that's available in free agency. Or maybe you go out and trade for Tyreek Hill, who I think is more impactful than DK has been to this point in their careers. I look at this and it's kind of working against any potential trade of DK Metcalf, he added. Like, if your asking price is a first-round pick, I don't think that's reasonable anymore, considering what is out there for teams to acquire. Metcalf still has one season left on the 3-year, $72 million contract extension he signed in July 2022. But given the league's booming receiver market, he undoubtedly will be looking for an extension this offseason that keeps him on pace with his peers. And if the Seahawks keep Metcalf, they also will be incentivized to renegotiate his contract. That's because his current deal carries a $31.875 million salary cap hit for 2025, which is the third highest number in the league among receivers. According to Over the Cap, Seattle currently has the fourth worst cap situation in the league, sitting at a projected $13.5 million over the cap. There's also additional intrigue due to Metcalf being such a tricky player to value, as The Athletic's Derek Klassen detailed last month on Seattle Sports' Wyman and Bob. On one hand, the 6'4", 235-pound Metcalf has a rare combination of size, speed and strength that makes him one of the more unique athletes in the NFL. He also has been consistently productive, reaching at least 900 receiving yards and 5 touchdown catches in each of his first 6 seasons. But on the other hand, Metcalf hasn't finished in the top 15 in receiving yardage since ranking 7th with a career-high 1,303 yards in 2020. Timing is everything, former NFL wide receiver Michael Bumpus said. Other teams are going to look at Tyreek Hill a bit different than they look at DK. I think teams are going to look at Deebo differently than they look at DK. And you've got a guy like Cooper Kupp who you can probably get for cheap because of his past. When it comes to injuries, the wide receiver market is crazy, he added. And there's more talent coming out of college this year. It's going to get interesting. Analyst: how wild card Seahawks could surprise with first-round pick. When it comes to predicting which direction teams will go in the NFL draft, some franchises are harder to gauge than others. Count the Seattle Seahawks in as one of the harder squads to prognosticate for. Could loaded WR market affect Seattle Seahawks plans for DK Metcalf? During a conversation with Seattle Sports' Wyman and Bob on Tuesday, CBS Sports draft analyst Ryan Wilson expressed why general manager John Schneider always makes things tough when it comes to putting together mock drafts. He always seems to zig when everyone else is zagging, Wilson said. A team like the Steelers, you sort of have a sense of what they're going to do, whether it's a running back or an offensive lineman. That always seems to be something that you can predict pretty early when you're going through simulations as we get closer to the draft, but Seattle is always a wild card. Like many draft experts, Wilson has the Seahawks addressing their clear need on the offensive line with the number 18 pick in the draft, selecting Missouri tackle Armand Membou. But with Wilson's comments about Seattle's unpredictability during the draft in mind, he was asked about which direction the Seahawks could go if they go down an unexpected path like they typically seem to do. Wilson had plenty of names to share. He started with a pair of off-ball linebackers he feels have the capability of playing multiple roles. A young man that I absolutely love and is a freakish athlete, maybe a little undersized, but he's going to get stronger. Is Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, Wilson said. He's just 20, and if you watch Alabama, he just pops. He is all over the place and he can line up outside on the edge as well. Campbell, who stands at 6'3" and 244 pounds, was a second-team All-American and first-team All-SEC selection for the Crimson Tide this past season. The former five-star high school recruit totaled team highs of 117 tackles and 11.5 tackles for loss, adding 5 sacks. He's the number 29 prospect on Pro Football Focus Big Board and its top-ranked linebacker. Wilson also highlighted Georgia's Jalen Walker. Walker was a third-team All-American and second-team All-SEC pick last season, amassing 60 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He's the number 32 prospect on PFF's Big Board and its second-ranked linebacker. Another juiced-up off-ball linebacker who feels more like the prototype of what Seattle looks for, Wilson said of the 6'2", 245-pound Walker. Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant has recently started popping up as a first-round pick by the Seahawks in mock drafts, but Wilson highlighted Ole Miss D-lineman Walter Nolan as an intriguing prospect to pair with 2024 first-rounder Byron Murphy too. The 6'3", 305-pound Nolan earned first-team All-America and All-SEC honors in 2024. He was one of 4 Rebels defenders to reach a team-best 14 tackles for loss and had 60 total tackles and 6.5 sacks. PFF ranks Nolan number 13 on its Big Board and as its number 3 defensive tackle. If you told me they drafted Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss to line up next to Byron Murphy, as a Seahawks fan, I would be incredibly excited about that, Wilson said. Wilson pointed to 2 more names in the secondary as surprising picks Seattle could make in the first round, Texas cornerback Jody Barron and Georgia safety Malachi Starks. Barron won the Jim Thorpe Award and garnered first-team All-America and All-SEC selections in 2024. The 5'11", 200-pound cornerback led the SEC and was third in the country with 5 interceptions and had a team-high 11 passes defended to go with 60 tackles, 3 tackles for loss and 1 sack. He is the number 9 player on PFF's Big Board and its second-ranked cornerback. Jody Barron is a guy that I mention for just about any team, Wilson said. He played at Texas, at cornerback and can play in the slot. Extremely versatile. Reminds me a lot Brian Branch and what he does for the Lions. Starks, a second-team All-American and first-team All-SEC pick, led Georgia with 77 tackles and added 4 tackles for loss, 3 passes defended and 1 interception. The 6'1", 205-pound Starks is the number 6 player on PFF's Big Board and its top-ranked safety. One of the smartest kids in the draft class, and he can run. Even though he plays safety, don't be fooled, don't think he's slow, Wilson said. The Seahawks have some speed in that secondary anyway, with Rick Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. If you add someone like Malachi Starks that can line up just about anywhere, that's one more weapon at your disposal in the secondary. Potential Seattle Seahawks quarterback target issues warning to the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks are likely to stick with Geno Smith at quarterback for 2025. The team probably feels as if it is not too far off from being a real competitor. Losing Smith would initially make the team worse as there is no one available this offseason who would be a guaranteed upgrade over Smith for the coming season. That does not mean that General Manager John Schneider is not going to be interested in what potentially trading up in the draft might yield. This would go against what Seattle normally does, of course, as the Seahawks usually trade down, if they do anything at all. But if Schneider believes there is a potential long-term quarterback available in the draft, Seattle needs to be aggressive in getting him. To be sure of getting their choice, Seattle could try to move all the way up to the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. That would mean working a deal with the Tennessee Titans, who currently hold that choice. A deal that sends Geno Smith to the Titans might be necessary. Unlikely, sure, but possible. The consensus top quarterback in the 2025 draft is Miami's Cam Ward. Ward started his career at Washington State, so more 12s might have seen him play there than at Miami. Still, his best college season was last season with the Hurricanes. He led all FBS quarterbacks, with 39 touchdown passes. Ward also does not lack confidence. According to the Associated Press, Ward said, "Okay, you're either going to draft me or you're not. If you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember you're the same team that's got to play me for the rest of my career, and I'll remember that." The good part for Seattle if they don't get Ward is that none of the other teams in the NFC West need a quarterback either. If the Seahawks play Ward's team, it won't be more than once a year. Still, Ward does have extremely interesting traits that would fit well in Seattle. He is very accurate, runs well enough to escape pressure, and does not turn the ball over. He also has had enough starts in college, 38, where he should be able to play sooner rather than later and not be overwhelmed. If Smith was part of a trade package, the Seahawks could choose to start Sam Howell at the beginning of 2025 and Ward could become the starter at some point during the season. Or Seattle could keep Smith, trade Howell, or release him, and have Ward be the backup for a season. And you fan? Do you think about Cam Ward's situation? Write on the comments.